right, so I had an amazing time watching this film. I want to know how much fun you guys had with it.
We had a great time working on this movie. We got to travel to some great places. Berlin. We spent a few months in Berlin and about a month in Singapore. So that part of it, the travel, was really great and exciting. I thought it was a good aspect of it.
We got to be badasses.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's that.
Which is great.
A lot of killing here.
Killing is not good, I don't condone it. But being a badass is great, in a make-believe kind of way.
And now you're so intense in this film, and you really make us feel that fear. You did an awesome job being Agent 47.
Thank you.
Are Agent 47. What was that like for you?
I was kind of honored. I mean, I did a lot of reading into the background of the character, and there's an entire world that's been created for this guy, and it's almost like he lived. It feels like a historical biography at times. You know, the fans are so excited to explore his background, his story, his rebellion, his fathers, all these different things. And so to me it was sort of like playing somewhere between an imaginary person and a historical figure. Here you have someone who's never lived but feels as if they have.
I feel like each character is very important and very special. Like you, Zachary, you really tap into that mysteriousness of your character, and the audience doesn't really know where we're going with your character until later on. So you do a really good job at fooling us.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that was something that really drew me to the role in the first place, was this idea of him presenting a version of himself that's not genuinely true, and gaining Katya's trust in the process and then betraying it. And I liked that. I always liked those kind of, gray areas, and there's a lot of stuff to play with in there, so that was fun about it, yeah.
And Katya's character, when we are introduced to her, she's kind of naive and unafraid, but we see this transformation. It's amazing. She's fierce, she's bad, she's unstoppable.
Yeah.
How do you identify with her?
What really drew me to the script was the sense that I don't think that when the idea that she's not comfortable in her own skin, but what she embraces who she is, essentially, the good bits and the things that she thinks are bad, she becomes more of a force, and she becomes more powerful, and just more of her true self. And I think that's I found that really interesting and something I could empathize with.
Yeah, I think, like every person that goes to watch the film is just going to fall in love with your character, fall in love with you.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's something that you guys might have in common, although we don't get you to admit that in the film. I feel like, you each have you feel a certain kind of way for Katya.
There's a connection that, I know I was playing with, and we talked a little bit about this idea of in the betrayal, there's actually some genuine...
Yeah.
Compassion or something strange, and that surprises even himself. Those kinds of things were definite draws to this experience because they're not necessarily historically associated with this kind of genre action stuff. So I could feel early on from my first conversations with the director and getting a sense of the creative team behind the project that they wanted to lean into that, and that made it probably more interesting than it might have otherwise been for me as a possible project to work on.
Let's talk about the action sequences. You've got helicopters going through buildings, a lot of shooting, a lot of fighting. What was all that like for you?
It was pretty high-octane 3 months, really. I mean, there was never a day when something like that wasn't happening, whether we were blowing things up or shooting people in slow motion, or Hannah and I baseball sliding across a helipad while taking out 6 guys at once. And if we weren't doing that, we were training, we were practicing kicking butt. So there weren't any quiet days, put it that way.
Made in Hollywood.